Hi, my name's Tim. I'm a fly angler based here in London, the United Kingdom, and I'm here to do a review of this, the Danielsson original reel. I have it here in the dry fly size. Also bear in mind this was manufactured by Danielsson for loop, so this is a loop reel. I'm aware that Sage also manufactured these for a time as well, or had these manufactured by Danielsson. This design dates back to the 80s. I think it was one of the first large arbor reels available. As I said, it was manufactured under the Loop brand as well. Manufactured in Sweden by Danielsson now. So let's just talk about the design of this reel. So it has a machined aluminium body. It is very lightweight, especially the spools. It is a full cage design, so absolutely fantastic for anyone who wants to use this for nymphing. There are about 5 models that they sell in the original range. The midge, which is the smallest. They've then got the nymph. This is the dry fly. There's one up from that, which is the 2W, which is more for 7 to 8 weights, and then you've got the 3W, which is the largest. Takes a lot of backing, that does, with a 10 weight line. This is the dry fly, so you could use this, if you like underlining your rods, fishing very fine fly lines, like 2 weights, 3 weights, on 9-foot rods, for example. You could get a 6 weight. Not got a great deal of capacity for backing if you use it with a 6 weight line, but for most things that swim in our waters here in England or Great Britain, it's absolutely perfect with a 6 weight line capacity. You can extend the amount of or increase the capacity if you use something like gel spun backing versus your standard Dacron, which is a bit thicker as well. So that's something to bear in mind. The handle is no frills affair. It's just a hard plastic. It doesn't have too much play to it. But yeah, just pretty satisfactory for what it is, functions well. So if we get to the quirky bit, or the unconventional aspect, so we have a very lightweight spool that in effect floats on a total of 6 wheels. The central hub tightens the 3 wheels on the front of the body onto the spool, or a sort of rim that's inside the spool, and that's what gives you the drag, so you can tighten up or loosen down. At the loosest setting, you can almost just free spool it by just giving it a hit. It'll go for a few turns. At the tightest, it's sufficient for anything you'll hit into, dare I say it, in Europe. The roller wheels are stainless. They've got an outer covering of sort of rubber tires, so to speak. You can pretty much break this reel apart yourself and service it, and Danielsson do offer spares as well, which we'll get to a bit later. So what are the advantages of this type of reel? It is very unconventional. It has 2 things that I think set it apart. Firstly, the drag has an infinite number of adjustments between its tightest setting and its loosest. Unlike a disc drag reel where you have click, 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 here you just have infinite range. As I was saying before, you can really dial it down and fine tune the tension, so that makes it perfect if you're using lighter tippets. The second advantage is that it has virtually no startup inertia. So startup inertia is the amount of pressure it takes to pull the spool, or to get the spool revolving, i.e. moving. So on some really bad examples, startup inertia is really noticeable in the form of the reel being really sticky, and that can lead to break-offs, especially if you're using thinner tippets. The fish takes, or you go to strike, and it takes just that little bit more pressure to actually get the spool moving than the setting of the drag. So this has virtually no startup inertia, meaning it's really smooth to engage. No startup inertia, just starts up instantly. Another advantage of this reel, or with it being manufactured in Sweden, is that you can still get spare parts for it, so you can still get aftercare. Most of our mass-produced products, once something goes wrong with it, that's it. You either claim on a warranty, for example, or it's just going to end up in a bin. Here, you can get spares. This reel here, I don't know how old it is. It could be 15, 20 years old. Even though this is manufactured under the Loop brand, it's virtually identical to the one that Danielsson sells, so I can still get spare rollers, spare central hubs, spare spools, dare I say it, even spare screws. So absolutely fantastic for the angler who wants something that they can service themselves. I also find this an extremely versatile reel. As I said, it's quite lightweight. I've used this with a 10'7" for my barbel fishing. I've used it for wild carp on a 9'4" weight. It's very versatile what you can stick this reel on. So let's just talk about some of the quirks, things to remember. Because everything is very open, if you drop this reel in silt, it will cause the reel to sometimes be very sticky, not very smooth. Very simple, just loosen the central hub, even remove it, give the reel a quick rinse, and it'll be performing perfectly and very smoothly. But if, like myself, I used to own the Danielsson, this reel has been given to me by a friend. If you take this off, you can easily get misplaced, and in my case I dropped it in silt and couldn't find it, which completely blew that session. Fortunately, you can buy a central hub, which is, brilliant. But that is something to be remembered. You do have a part that can, if you take it off, get lost. The second thing to note is when you're storing this reel, make sure you loosen off the tensioner, central hub / drag. Otherwise it can cause the rubber wheels to get misshapen. Once again, you can replace the rubber wheels, but it'll just extend the life if you do that, loosening the tension. Once the spools get slightly misformed, then it means that the operation won't be as smooth as it can be. So one thing to note is that these reels are very lightweight, especially the spools. Now I've dropped this reel, I've scraped it. It was given to me in well-worn condition, but I wouldn't want to subject this to a serious drop. To be fair, the serious drop would be unlikely to happen in most fly fishing situations, but there is a chance that you could warp the spool and it would affect, the smoothness. Something of note, particularly with the larger ones, on their website they do say use for steelhead and sea trout, stuff like that, salmon. I have used this in coastal environments, so in Scotland, doing some sea trout fishing. I did get signs of, specks of corrosion, rust on the rollers. Thankfully it didn't affect how the reel performs. I don't really know about the different types of sprays or greases that you can use to make to make these things a little bit more salt resistant, but it is something to be mindful of. So let's talk about the price. So Danielsson have it up as 120 at the moment. Bear in mind the price does change because of the exchange rate. Obviously I'm keeping in mind that I'm based here in the United Kingdom. At the moment, £122. You are going to get charges. It's going to get stopped through customs, so I think anywhere between sort of 160 to 170, which is an absolute bargain considering this is made in Europe, and yeah, it's a quality product. Also, another fantastic thing about these reels is if you don't like it, there's a good demand for these on the used market, and these don't actually lose a great deal of money on the used market either. They also have a bit of a cult following too. So who would I recommend this reel for? The lady or the gentleman who wants a reliable product that they can service themselves and still get spare parts, especially for something like nymphing or where you're using much, very fine tippets. You can just really fine-tune that drag. An absolutely fantastic reel. The Danielsson original reel, here in the dry fly size, a fantastic reel.